This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story? Join us as we chat to the cast and creatives behind the smash hit series, Rivals.
My podcast is usually about how someone's career begins, and I'd love to ask you both, what was the moment that you realised you wanted to be a performer?
Wow. For me, I was always like a TV buff. I loved TV as a kid, and I remember watching The Cosby Show and wanting to be like Rudy Huxtable, and also thinking like that Felicia Rashad as Claire Huxtable was like the epitome of a beautiful brown black woman. She was smart, she was educated, she was sassy, she was beautiful, she was demure, she just was very classy, and I wanted to be on TV. They looked like me, so I felt like, I want to do that, and it looked fun. I was always also fascinated with like behind the scenes. Whenever we film on set, when we're on stage, those are my favorite moments because I like the make believe and the recreation of like creating this like world. So it was those moments. I was really little. I was about 4 or 5 years old when I first saw The Cosby Show. I was really little. And when you knew
you wanted to be an actor from 4 or 5?
I just knew I wanted to be inside of the TV, and I didn't know what that meant. And as I gotten older, I just resonated with like seeing black women on TV, and I kind of wanted to do it.
Awesome.
Fair play.
I went to see a musical when I was 12 years old called The Rock Nativity at the Cranbourne Theatre in Essex, in Chelmsford, and was just totally hit by a bolt of lightning. I had no inclination toward the idea of being an actor at all, and I came out of the theatre going, that is what I'm going to do.
Wow.
And then looked in the paper, the local paper, for a local group, and they were doing Bugsy Malone, and it was my favourite film. And I auditioned for Bugsy Malone and got the part of Bugsy Malone. I was like, right.
You're done.
This is it. It's going to be such an easy ride.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was
never
quite as easy. Never quite as easy since then. But yeah.
You make it look easy.
Well,
that's when you're the second person today to mention Bugsy Malone.
Who's the other one?
Elliot, Luca.
I was going to say Luca. I knew it was Luca. We talked about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I used to walk around my little village dressed as Bugsy Malone. I got the fedora from like a charity shop.
How old were you?
Yeah, like that would have been 11 or 11 or something.
Yeah, wow.
I was a very cool child.
Okay, I could imagine.
We've got to shoot off now, but
that was cool.
I want to ask quickly, advice to actors that are trying to get into the industry, just quickly, if you've got...
To get into the industry? Yeah. Oh, I don't know about getting into the industry, but just do as much as you can. Get people together, read stuff, act out loud, get up, do it. And my technique was always to just try and be as good as I could be, and then hopefully if I had the opportunity, that would shine through.
I always tell actors to engulf yourself in the world that you want to be in. If you want to be an actor, surround yourself with other actors, other artists, directors, and then from there you learn about casting directors and you learn about agents. If you're in that world, you'll become a part of it, and you'll learn from just different people, and you'll get resources. Also get into a great acting class and study your ass off, because you don't just wake up and be good at this. It takes a lot of practice, and a lot of the practice happens in acting class. That's where you can try and fail and get back up and learn your bad habits.
Yeah, safe environment, not doing it on set.
Exactly.
Sorry I'm late, darling. I've had a terrible headache.
I got to see 3 episodes, and now I've got to wait God knows how long to see the rest. But it's such a great show.
Not long, only like 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
I know, it's about 2 weeks.
It's too long. It's too long. Your characters are both fantastic in this. What was the moment like when you first got these roles?
Ooh, I was really excited.
I jumped up and down for sure.
Yeah, I remember being like, you have to be careful what you say. I think I manifested this for sure, because I remember being like, I could do an extended stay in London. I could see myself living there, and literally like 2 months later.
Wasn't Bristol though, was it?
It wasn't. It wasn't.
We love Bristol. We absolutely love Bristol, but that
wasn't quite London, but it was close enough.
I remember when you got here, and didn't you go, we're not in London?
Well, because here's the thing. When I met with Elliot and everybody, Elliot was like, how do you feel about moving to London? I was like, yeah, I'll move to London. And I got here, I was like, where's that man who told me? Where is he? So, but back to how I felt, I was just really excited because I have just finished my last TV show, and I remember saying that the next job I took, and especially if it was TV, I had to really, really, really love it. And I kind of turned down so many things, and I just really didn't see anything I was interested in. And this was the first time, like, I read something that year. It was in 2022. It was the end of 2022. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading for Cameron, and when I first read the script, I was like, I called my team, and I was like, yeah, I want this. This is mine. And that was that. And I found out I got it on my birthday.
I did,
wow. Mm-hmm. Meant to be.
So lining up.
I found out about us getting season 2 on my birthday.
Did you?
I swear.
I don't know when your birthday is.
It's December 4th. It's okay. You were at my party.
Yes,
How'd
that's
you
right. I
forget?
do. Yeah, I remember being at the party.
I'm playing.
And for you, what was the moment like?
We cracked open some champagne for
Nice.
sure. I mean, I think we'd read maybe a script. So it wasn't until we got more scripts of going, oh wow, like this is really. The first script was great, but like the sort of breadth of it and what the character is, and I sort of was aware of the weight of the character, the weight of expectation that people have around him. I mean, and all the characters. But it wasn't until I sort of started to talk to people and go, oh, I'm playing this character in this thing called Rivals, and they'd be like, who? And I would say, and they would like lose their shit to some of the women, projecting onto me their own fantasies of their sort of, teenage fantasies.
Yeah. I mean, all the characters are great, aren't they? And there's so many actors in this that are kind of playing against types.
Yeah, it's
a lot of
awesome,
fun
isn't
to
it?
Watch. In terms of, when you're shooting something, I guess you never really know how it's going to turn out. It may feel good at the time, but this really came out and it's done so incredibly well. Obviously, second season. Did you have an inkling that it was going to be a success when you were making it?
I kind of you can tell by the writing if something is going to be good, but you truly don't know how something is going to turn out until it comes out and you get the response. You can hope for it to be good. You can put your all into it so that it could be good for what you are feeling, but you don't know. And I think I was just really excited to see the response and see how people connected to it. It was way more than what I expected.
I remember first seeing the first episode and being like, "Oh, thank God, it's as good as
good,
it felt," because we would,
You don't really know.
No, but you would look at it, we would look at each other and see each other doing scenes and be like, "Well, they're really good." I think that's really good. I would watch this. But then the whole tone of it and the style and the music and the way that it's cut together is so sort of, there's so much bravura in it that it was so exciting to see.
I remember after I saw episode 1, I was like, oh shit, that's what we did? I was like, oh, okay, cool. I want to go back to do more. But because you don't really, and for me, it was a new world. So I didn't really know what to expect. I was just kind of an actor in this new place and I was just going for it. So when I saw, I didn't know what we were making, but when I saw, I was like, oh, that's what we did. And we don't always get to see other characters when they're filming.
Exactly,
So it can feel really brand new to us. We may have read it in the script, but you kind of throw it away and then you start focusing on your parts. So seeing some of the other actors, I was like, oh, wow, they're really good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, she's really funny. And it was just really cool to watch it as an audience member myself.
Totally.
So true, there's so many characters that I guess you're filming over here, they're filming over here.
Yeah.
It's like,
Exactly.
you can actually almost watch it, I guess,
Exactly.
as a show and not kind of think about you were in it.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be quite a ride.
What was the moment that you went, oh, I want to be an actor?
After you.
No. What was the first? What's the first moment I wanted to be an actor? I did this drama course that I don't know how I found out about it, but every Saturday I would go up to London and do this acting course, and I just had so much fun. And I remember when I was younger, it was like when I think I was like 14, and I remember I would like go out in the evenings and then do the class and arrive quite hungover, and then I suddenly realised I really cared about it because I would like start getting in an early night on the Friday and then be thinking about it and like prepping for it the week in advance. And I was like, oh God, I wonder if you can do this as a career. And then how do I whack at it?
Going well.
Yeah, it's going pretty well.
No.
Yeah.
It was that way. It was quite a funny way of getting into it. It was kind of sort of not. I think I probably wanted to do it, but just didn't have the guts.
Like a slow burn, and then you kind of like, well, actually,
probably a bit of resistance as well, to it, because it's not necessarily like the easiest job to get into.
Yeah, true.
But yeah. Started early though. The want to do it.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And
I joined a little local drama workshop just for like an hour and a half every Monday night.
Nice.
From 5:30 till 7 p.m.
And don't forget that. That's important.
That's very important how long it lasted, yeah. But no, that was it. It was sort of like just like a little extracurricular sort of hobby, really. And then, I did. I think my first ever little amateur production was Bugsy Malone. I played Bugsy in that, and there was a representative there from like Sylvia Young or something, and she approached my mum and dad and said, look, we'd like to.
This boy's he's going to be a star.
And I was so shy, I didn't really sort of understand the prospect of it being sort of like maybe a career, just sort of saw it as something fun to do after school on a Monday. And then as I got a little bit older and sort of about 14, maybe 15, I sort of like starting to think about leaving school at 16. I knew I didn't want to stay on in higher education. I was like, maybe I should think about this acting thing
What was
again.
your first job?
Skins.
I was about to say, but I didn't want to
Skins
presume.
as well. Skins was my
That's
first
too
job. Yeah.
shabby.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not a
whatever.
bad way to kick things off. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was my first one. Yeah.
Wow.
Is it difficult when you know, like a show like this as well, it's a popular show, like with Skins, is it something that, you know, follows you a little bit? Does it take a while to get away from a part like that?
I mean, for me, but I mean, Skins, Skins still follows me, I guess. I think
In a lovely way,
I think
though.
in a really lovely way. I
it's
think
not a bad
because
show.
I was going to say,
I
it's a
think-
much beloved show.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite mad, really. But it was, it was sort of like half of my life ago, like that I did it.
There's
It's sort of,
so many different
it's
characters from
crazy, and it's just it's still the one thing that I'm sort of more known for than anything else, I guess, which is kind of beautiful that it's, you know, a character's and a show is still sort of in people's minds after so
Left
long.
an impact.
But yeah, it's I'm massively grateful for it.
Do you have any advice for actors that are kind of trying to get their foot in the door, trying to get that first few jobs, you know?
Yeah, do it. For me personally, do it. I would say do it for the passion. And I think you really have to be in love with don't be in love with the idea of it. I think you have to be in love with it. And just, you know, watch films and read books and just go and get some life experience and just be and live and sort of take those experiences onto the set and into the work. Yeah.
Nice. Bella?
That's so nice.
You're like that, what he said there.
Top it.
Actually, yeah, I'm just going to regurgitate it and you can just say it's fine. I am, probably the same things. I think you just have to really, really want it and be really obsessed with it. To an unhealthy,
Yeah, you have to be
place.
obsessed
Because
with it, I
it's not
guess.
always smooth sailing, is it? And
No,
so
it's
you
not.
have to really, I guess,
Yeah.
love it. And
And have thick skin.
thick skin, I
Because
think,
you
is
hear the
what. But I
word
think
no
you
a lot.
learn to have thick skin. I didn't have thick skin when I started. I didn't know what was going on, and then a lot of no's can be quite sort of confusing. No, they can. I don't know. It can be a bit of a shock, and then you get used to it quite quickly, and then it becomes fun.
Love it.
The
Guys,
no's become fun.
I remember sending a self-taping. My agent sent me sort of like this. I don't even know if I got the script. I think it might have just been sides, so just like the audition scenes. And I shot them, sent them off, sort of, you know, forgot about them completely. And this was in like the October of 2022. And then completely forgot about it. And then I sort of got a phone call in February of 2023 saying, you remember that show that you taped for called Rival? I said, yeah. And they said, well, they want to meet you for it.
Wow.
And I was like, really? I said, I totally forgot about it. They were like, yeah, well, they want to see you for it. And then obviously went in, I met Elliot, our director, and Alex and Dominic, and obviously Kelly Valentine Hendry that cast it, and went and said hello and did a bit more reading and worked with them a little bit. And then, yeah, a few days after that, I got a call to say it was mine and they wanted me to play Baz, and that was it.
And here he is.
Off to Bristol a few weeks later.
I mean, that sounds
Oh
pretty
yeah,
painless.
truly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we started in the March, didn't we?
Yeah, we started in March, March 2023.
whirlwind.
Quite a big gap in between my first read for
And
it,
you've
yeah.
just been waiting and waiting and
I was
waiting
just
for
waiting,
that call.
twiddling
by
my thumbs,
Fed.
yeah.
Yeah, we're just turning down jobs. I had kind of a similar thing to you, I guess, but I didn't have the weight. I think mine was in October, and I did quite a few rounds for it, and then got cast in it, but they hadn't cast Rupert's character yet, and I did lots. I had to do chemistry reads with loads of Ruperts, which was really bizarre and fun, and then Alex came in and was just brilliant and very funny, and and that was that.
It's, I mean, this show is just a joy. When I first started watching it, I wasn't, you know, don't know what to expect, but it's just such a sort of uplifting, naughty, fun.
Yeah.
Is the set like that? Is it a fun, not naughty
It's
set?
so
but
much
Yes.
fun. It really is. It really is so much fun. It's very. It's sort of. I think I said this earlier that, you know, whenever you start a new project, you can have an idea in your head about how the final product is going to turn out, and you never really know until it comes out. You see it and you get the audience reactions and whatnot. But when you meet everybody and you sort of get a vibe of everybody's personality and how you get, you know, and you'll go for a beer in the evening or whatever, you could definitely get a sense of how much fun you're going to have making it.
Totally.
And I definitely got the vibe that we were going to have a lot of fun making it, and the vibe served me
super.
right.
Yeah.
We did. We had a lot of fun, and it was everyone is, you know, so close. it just made it a hell of a lot easier, and it was just
Didn't it?
yeah, it was just working. So it's just like working with some of your really close mates.
Well, hopefully there'll be more seasons.
Well, yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Keep our fingers and toes crossed.
1,000
Yeah.
seasons.
Yeah.
I'd love to ask what that first moment was where you realised, oh, actually, I could be an actress for a living. I could actually do this. Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I mean, my very first job I ever got was doing a play about sex education, touring round rural Derbyshire. So at that point, I was like, oh God, I don't know whether I can be asked to do this for the rest of my life. If this is but I am an actor now, and this is what I'm doing. But there was something really amazing about working, doing like community theatre, working in schools, because you really learn, like, you've got to graft. And actually, that was an amazing way to start, because I thought, actually, if I want to get out of this world, I need to work really hard. So yeah, that was my. I mean, you probably did something really hard.
I remember that play because I was sort of it was at the Bush first.
I think I teach you how to put a condom on.
Oh, you did.
I taught the children of Derbyshire.
I was that lesson.
Did you come to my show?
Yeah, cool. I think I probably realised sort of similarly to Lisa. I did a lot of theatre when I was starting out, and absolutely that was when I loved it. But I didn't think I was going to be able to make a very good living at all, actually, because once you factor in the sort of, the gaps between theatre jobs, it's quite hard to live in London and everything. But I got Doc Martin. I got the receptionist in this Martin.
Was that your first job?
It's my first sort of
TV
proper telly job, yeah. And I remember just sort of going for a run, because I did used to run.
You run?
I used to run. I don't run now, but I did used to. He runs a lot. And I went for a run through the Cornish countryside. I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to be allowed to do this for a living. I really remember sort of feeling that was the moment, just because you get paid, you tend to get paid a bit more for telly. Yeah.
I guess that's a real kind of gear change as well. You're like, yeah, I can make money from this and actually survive.
I didn't think that when I was doing my sex education play around rural Derbyshire, I have to say.
You're like, get me out of it.
I was like, how do I not do this for a job?
And do you have any sort of advice for actors that are out there, auditioning and struggling and trying to get their foot in the door?
Such a hard one.
I think it's changed so much. I mean, it's also changed so much with the self-tapes, and I really feel for younger actors with that, because I think that what I remember experiencing is auditions with my A to Z, and they were often, even though I didn't get so many of them, they were often really good experiences, because you'd feel like you'd done a good job and you'd had some nice feedback and you'd met a really nice casting director or a really nice director. And I think to sort of be sending off lots of self-tapes and not necessarily hearing back must be very demoralising. So I suppose I just have sympathy from that point of view, because I think that's a big change.
Yeah. I guess as well, like maybe just trying to make your own work. Like you can do it on a mobile, like on a phone now, can't you? You can get iPhones and you can film your own things, write things, just like...
We didn't have those opportunities, so it's better in that way.
Yeah, I just think practice, and the only way you can do that is just by sort of sometimes just doing it yourself, and you can put stuff out there on social media now, and so many people have sort of started a career like that, and I think it's amazing, because it's really hard to get a job.
It's
actually
quite egalitarian, that, isn't
it?
And people, that's
another
my thesaurus.
She's using so many
I'm
words
like, what?
today.
I'm dyslexic, I have no idea what you said.
I mutter it if I'm not sure if I'm using it correctly.
What does it mean? I'll test you on it.
But yeah, I think that is a good change, that you can put stuff out. I like to think we might have done that back in the day.
I think so.
But nobody would have necessarily watched it.
I made a lot of adverts on a camcorder with my friend when I was younger. So I started early.
You grafted, it sounds like. You really,
obviously, no one cared though. It took me ages for people to care.
Well, you got here in the end. In terms of, getting these roles and the first moment of, the start of the first season, what was it like getting this? I guess, was it an audition or an offer? What was the sort of process of getting these roles?
Well, I mean, I think that they sort of wrote Lizzie for you, didn't they? Well, but I did audition for Lizzie.
Right.
But... And then I thought that's all. And then they came back and said, no, you're definitely not clever enough to play Lizzie. You can play Valerie. No, they didn't. No. But yeah, I definitely auditioned for it, but I don't think you did you?
No, but I was so delighted when I heard it was her, and then I realised I'd got her confused with somebody else.
Have you been doing this all day?
Yeah. I have to say, we had some mutual friends, so we both were like straight away on the first day.
Even
quite excited to work with each
quite
other.
a bit older than her, but
she's not. She's 3 school years above
Three
me.
I love it. School years.
3 school years above, and she's.
But I wouldn't have spoken to you if we were at school together.
No.
Obviously
Things
not.
change when you get older. You sort of break the rules a bit.
Yeah, I have to say though, I was very excited to be cast in this show. Like, I couldn't quite believe it. I think like when you read something like Rivals, you're like,
Come on,
this is good. I can see what this world's going to be. This is, so it was...
I'd worked with the writer quite a lot.
Had.
So Laura Wade, I've done lots of stuff with, so I
I'm
just knew
surprised she
I was
worked
gonna...
with you again, to be honest, after what you did.
She always keeps a distance. But I just knew that I was going to like it a lot because of that. But
and you know Dom as well from...
Well, I was at university with Dominic. We were at parties together without ever meeting.
Oh.
And he says, and I think this is to be kind, we never knew each other at university, but he had quite a cool reputation. He says that I did too, and I know he's just saying that because I know.
She definitely didn't know.
He did. There's many things I was when I was at university. Cool was not one of them.
I don't believe it. I mean, this show has become such a huge, thing, and season 2, I'm sure there's going to be more seasons. These characters, I mean, there's some really sort of moments where you feel really sorry for her. Yours is hilarious, but all the characters are so like interesting and deep, and there's so many of them. It's unusual to have a show that can balance all those characters.
Absolutely. I admire that talent so much in these writers. The way when the scripts come through and you see, they manage such a big cast and they manage to. It's such craftsmanship, and I'm not sure how you would develop a talent like that without working on something like EastEnders. And it makes it quite unusual because, I'm used to shows with much smaller casts, and you get to play all sorts of different dynamics with different characters, and over a lot of episodes. So it just feels like you've got the opportunity to really make things more complex, and so you do have sympathy for characters that you would normally kind of maybe judge or laugh at, and you and the opposite is true of the ones that you would normally feel sympathy for. So
I guess when you're watching it as well, you haven't seen a lot of the filming, so
you're
kind of watching it as an audience member as well. Are you fans of the show?
Yes, I have to say,
she's given me a lot of notes for many potential new series.
Got a lot of notes for you.
Written out, handwritten.
Yeah. It's brilliant, isn't it? Everything
so
about
good.
it is brilliant. The music,
the soundtrack.
That's
a surprise to me when you watch it and you didn't know they were going to put that. I think they've got their own composers for some bits.
The opening theme tune is just so good. I remember when we had a screening and we watched all of the episodes in one sitting for the first series, and I just remember we were all sort of sat there like really excited, and then the soundtrack came on and we were like...
I slightly shamefully told my mum that I sang that.
She believe you?
Could you do it for a second? No, you definitely didn't see that.
It's very good.
I'll have to tell her the truth. I have told her the truth.
Sometimes with the beginning of a show like that makes or breaks it. If something's got a good theme tune and a good opening, you're like, I'll get into this.
You don't skip intro, do you?
No,
I think if it's a really confident, creative beast, then everything, including the titles and the music, will sing, won't it?
100%. I just want to know the moment that you realised you wanted to risk it all and attempt to be actors. What was that moment?
How about you, Anne?
Oh, I was 16 and
You're from that family, right?
I was living in a flat with my little sister, and I needed to pay the rent, and I had to. I just said to my sister, "It's okay. I'm going to become a famous actress, and then it's going to be fine." So I had no choice, and I got the Inbetweeners very quickly, and then I just made sure that there was no other. Just failure was not an option. I had to just do it. I was a very ambitious teenager. And I just made sure that it happened. But I came from a family of it all, and I think it's essentially like taking over a family business. My mum's an actress, and no one in my family, not one of them, has a proper job. So
amazing.
It was just no question for me. Yeah.
I was 6 or 7. I had I grew up in the 80s, so I saw some entertainers at a party. And my 6-year-old, 7-year-old eyes just could not believe that this was a way you could live your life. And from then, that was it. That's all I've ever wanted to do
to the like complete exclusion of everything else. And to anyone else who's young out there, probably 6-year-olds probably aren't listening or watching this podcast, but you just have to go. You just have to go. Just shut out the noise, shut out the haters, shut out the doubt. You just have to keep on going, and it's quite a ride, right?
Yeah, thank you for that.
The first moment that you got these roles, the excitement, what was the process? Was it an audition, an offer, what was it?
I auditioned thinking, obviously I'm not going to get that. Because originally, the character breakdown on the audition thing said, think Emily Atack. So it's like, described Sarah Stratton, and it said, think Emily Atack.
And you then still thought you weren't going to get it?
No, and I think it was Dominic that said, well, why don't we just get Emily Atack in? So then I went in, and I dressed in the full get-up.
Did you dress as Emily Atack?
Yes, well, this is the thing. They were like, thank you for dressing up and all the I was like, yeah.
Did you do the hair?
Dress, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was just like, it just felt so right. And yeah, I don't know, I did a tape first, that was it, I did a tape. And then I went to meet them, and then it just felt right. I walked out of that going, got that in the bag.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Did you?
God, I can't say that.
I love that.
But you never do that.
But it's weird
do you?
because ever since
that
then,
never happened.
It's sort of got away from you a bit, didn't it?
Normally that's the kiss of death. If you think you've got the role, you're like, I've definitely nailed that one, and then you're like, never hear anything.
Maybe that's why.
It's been a I should have done what I did in the audition.
Yeah. But yes, that's how I got the part, and I still can't believe it. So.
I mean,
she's amazing, right? I mean, what an amazing performance.
Both of you,
unbelievable.
Stop.
Yeah, but the way you find that like vulnerability in that sort of ambitious woman, the way she looks,
Ollie.
it's just so amazing.
Thank you, darling.
And your role? What was the process for you?
It was actually, it's really funny. The true story is that my wife is an actor, and this script came through for her, and I was reading it because I was going to do a tape with her, and I was like, "Are you serious?" I literally looked at it. Are you serious? I was like, "Why have I not, been called in for this?" And they're like, these sort of 40-year-old disgusting men. Well, that sounds pretty much like this guy. And then I realised who was directing it, and I worked with Elliot Hegarty, our lead director, a couple of times before. So I sent Elliot an email saying, "Elliot, I've just seen this thing, Rivals. Like, come on, dude, what?" And I actually have he emailed me back, so I go, "Yeah, you'd be brilliant. We've been talking about you for it." And I've got an email chain from Elliot where I first sent him that message to the final day of filming of the first series, all through the audition process, all through the shooting. Wow. And I was very careful. I was never like, "Oh, give me," but I was very gentle with it. But he was always so encouraging, and it's a really lovely document to keep because it's been like an iconic.
And now there's a restraining order.
It's so true. But it's been a really formative experience for all of us, So to have that as a reminder. But I basically then I got my audition and I taped, and I think they felt that I was ghastly vain and repulsive enough to embody James Vereker, and I guess
it says something that you got the role.
Yeah. Well, I like to think that I'm.
Well, at least on the James Vereker one, it did put "Think Ollie Chris."
That's so true. Oh my God,
that would have been bad.
I think that's right. I would like to think it's because I'm kind of not like that in real life. That I'm free to explore those horrible attributes, those sort of vain, awful, emotionally selfish attributes in a safe space. Well, it's interesting actually you bring that up because I think in the first series James was he's sort of awful and vain and ghastly, but he was kind of a figure of fun. I think it was a kind of love to hate. He occupies quite a comic space. But in the second series, I think it sours. I think we really see what the effect of that selfishness and vanity and disregard for other people has on those people. And there's some really disturbing stuff in episode 3, which I found. I always find it a joy to play. Who doesn't want to be a bad guy, right? Who doesn't want to exercise the worst bits of themselves in a safe space? But when I saw it back, I was really affected by it. And I suddenly realized this is not a funny thing. This is actually to represent this sort of flavor of passive, careless, toxic masculinity was actually a bit of a responsibility in a way. And it was really affecting when I saw some of what happens. In particular, there's quite a disturbing scene in episode 3, which was a joy to film because Katherine Parkinson is just so much fun, and the scene is kind of on the page kind of funny and kind of dark, but in context I was really affected. The first time I saw it, I sort of went home and hugged my kids and had to really process that.
Yeah, he's an asshole in that scene.
It's interesting playing a character who who you realise is he's not a good guy in some ways, and he's I find him hard to defend a lot of the time, and I think rightly, and I think occupying that space as an actor, I always wanted to be a bad guy. I always wanted to play the bad guy, and now I'm playing a bad guy. It's actually affecting me a lot more than I thought it would.
That's probably a good sign.
Yeah, I always say that.
So.
Thank God.
Yeah, I hope so.
Actually, I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. But it's a funny thing though, because it's weird, because I really did enjoy. I would be lying if I said I didn't relish being so gross.
Yeah, David Tennant loves playing Tony Baddingham.
Yeah.
It couldn't be more opposite. You know,
real life.
David is the
That's disappointing.
loveliest,
I wanna know this.
sweetest man
Oh,
in
David!
the world.
Oh my God, 10 out of 10 they call him.
Yeah.
No.
Have you ever seen him make a
Never.
fluff a line away?
Never.
He did one time, and I think I celebrate. I think I jumped in the air.
No, I remember once it was one of my first scenes with David, and I just had to say one line, and I couldn't
Oh my God!
get it out.
I was in the room. Brilliant.
No,
it was beautiful.
it was horrific.
Why couldn't you get it out, Em?
Shut up. We'd been for drinks the night before.
Oh, no.
She was holding the line.
I know.
And she was just waiting.
Stop it! Ollie. Stop that. Oh my God. But yeah, no, David Tennant is amazing, and we all love him very much. And he's very sweet, opposite of Tony Baddingham.
Oh, very good.
It's amazing.
I always wanted it to be Quentin Tarantino. And so I decided I made a bunch of shorts, and I thought it's only a little bit more effort to make a film. So back in '99, I was like, right, I have a very tiny bit of money from investors, and and should I make a horror or a comedy? Because if something's scary, it can compete with a $100 million film, because scary's scary. Or if something's funny, it can compete with a big film, because funny's funny. And I was like, well, for horror, you need some blood squibs and a few more props. I'll do comedy. So I just made A Week in the Life of an Irish Pub.
Nice.
And ripped off Clark's, the 90s indie movie.
Yeah.
And sort of just, having done that, then fell into comedy. I then got given work for comedy, firstly through advertising, and then I fell into TV, which was the perfect medium for comedy at the time, because there was, not too much pressure, you had quite a bit of freedom, but I was a bit disillusioned by it, because producers were like, no one laughs at the lighting, so why make it look good? And I was like, no, but it should look good. Comedy needs to look good, needs to kind of sit next to drama and be just as valid, and so just started moving into sort of comedy drama where the budgets are a bit higher, but where you can laugh and cry in the same scene. And for me, that's the kind of my favourite place to be. And so I've just been sort of plugging away at sort of comedy dramas for the last 20 years. And as I said, I do love, I love films with comedy and drama and romance, and I really enjoy kind of telling those sort of stories. And I think the kind of, this is the zenith of that.
That's such a great point, actually. Not even when you're watching it, it looks incredible and you're sucked in. But I've never really thought about, some comedies that are incredible. They don't look like that. They don't look.
No.
They're with sitcoms or anything else. This looks like it could be a feature film in the cinema.
Yeah.
Laura, in terms of how it all started for you with the writing side of things.
So, well, I started working in theatre, and I always wanted to write from when I was teeny tiny, and I always wanted to be involved in theatre. So I started writing plays at home when I was sort of 4 or 5, 6, 7 kind of thing.
It's been a long time coming then.
And so I was doing all of that, and I did a play at the theatre in my hometown of Sheffield just before university, and then I went and studied drama at university, and from there kept on writing and did, when I moved to London, various playwriting courses, and I didn't actually get into writing for the screen until after I'd had several plays on and had had interest from TV and film producers who had seen the plays and wanted to let me have a go at writing for the screen. And it took me quite a long time to get to... I'd spent quite a lot of time developing things that never happened and learning kind of from that end of it. So Rivals is the first time I've worked on like a TV series. I've done a feature film before, but a TV series from beginning to fruition, which is such a journey.
Yeah, massive, yeah, incredible. And I was going to ask, actually, Riot Club. I love that film.
Oh, do you? Thank you.
I love that film. It's great. And I can kind of see elements of this in that as well. It's a similar world that they're in.
Yes.
So, yeah, a lot of fun to write both of those, I would think. In terms of advice, there's a lot of people trying to get into the industry, whether it be writing, directing, acting, whatever it is. Do you have any advice for people trying to get their foot in the door?
Something I always say to people is just look at the number of jobs that go up the screen at the end of a TV show or a film. And not all of those are an actor or a director or a writer. There are so many brilliant different things you can do in that world. And when you step onto a film set and you see all those people doing all those very different specific jobs, like there is something out there for you that is perfect. You just don't know about it yet. And if you can go out and think about what's the thing that matches your skills. Are you the person that loves dressing a room? So maybe you're part of the design team. Or are you the person who loves the words? So maybe if you're not a writer, maybe you're a script editor. Or, you know, there are so many different things. And I think we put so much focus on like the 5 most famous jobs that people miss out on knowing about all of the others. So watch the credits and then go away and go, oh, what's a focus puller? Is that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at this and go, best boy.
Yeah. What's a best boy? What's a gaffer?
Yeah. Some very strange names if you're not kind of involved with it. But Elliot.
Well, I think if you want to become a filmmaker, I think the latest 28 years later film was all shot on an iPhone, and not even an iPhone 17. It was an iPhone 13, 14.
I love how they made the choice to be like, let's not use the new one.
Yeah, let's not use the new one. And so they're shooting big Hollywood studio films on an iPhone, and everyone has an iPhone. So when I was starting out, you know, film stock was expensive. A film camera was hard to come by. How do you edit it? Well, we've got laptops now. Before you had, you know, little sort of film emulsion editing machines. So I think just start making the films. Make all your mistakes. Concentrate on the script. The script is totally free. You know, burn the midnight oil, get the script to as good as you can make it, and then go and make set it in one location and get all your mates involved and just shoot a film, edit it on your laptop, just get going.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm an actor myself, so you know what you were saying there about, you know, there's loads of jobs on a film set, and I'm always, if a friend's like, oh, I don't know what to do, like I need to get a new job, I've lost my job, I'm like, come to the film industry. But the one thing that every job has in the film industry is being freelance. So that's one thing you always have to warn people of.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, that downtime, I'm sure both of you now are at a level where, you know, there's not that much downtime, but what would you do when you were sort of out of work or waiting for the next job? Did you have things that you would sort of, coping mechanisms, maybe working out or going for a run or whatever it may be, to kind of keep sane in between those jobs?
I'm terrible. I've got no hobbies. I don't play golf.
You're obviously very busy, so...
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not good, not working. And I'm not looking forward to my retirement. What am I going to do?
But you're in the film industry, so you don't ever have to retire.
Well, the phones stop ringing. You know, they retire you, don't they? Or they ring with a job. You'd like, I'd rather not work than do that job.
Yeah.
You were doing stair lift adverts.
Yeah, great. I mean, I think I'll just pick up a paintbrush or learn to paint or write a novel or when you're a writer, it's great. You can just keep on going, can't you?
You can write.
You can always write. Yeah, I mean, my partner, who's an actor, always points this out. Yeah, you can write anywhere. You can just keep writing. You can always be writing, and it's true. But it can be difficult between jobs early on to keep your spirits up. And I always found, and this can be harder to do than it sounds, but staying positive about the business, supporting your friends' work, going to see everything, showing up for people who are maybe having more success for you right now, and just like keeping in contact with what's going on, see the shows, see the films.
But you're right,
read
feeding the
stuff,
craft,
feeding the craft,
constantly,
feeding the fire, not letting yourself get like isolated and bitter, because that's a very sad road to go down. If you can stay open to things, then I kind of feel like that's when sort of the universe rewards you by putting something your way.
Yeah, I remember when I first started out, it was helping people on short films. It was going to little classes to, you know, I wanted to direct, you know, for actor classes, all those things. Then you meet a certain person when you're working for free on a short or a low budget film, that then they remember you because you're nice to them. Always be nice, but they remember you, and then they'll give you a job one day. And I think if you've got all these irons in the fire, eventually you'll be in the right place at the right time, and you'll get some paid work.
Yeah, be nice and be useful.
In terms of how you guys got involved in the first place, what was the kind of initiation and getting involved with this?
I was invited in by Dominic Treadwell-Collins, who I'd worked with on another project. And he was putting together this, and he thought it might be up my Strasser, and it absolutely was. And I didn't really know the books before that because they weren't part of my. I didn't know anybody who was reading them when I was a teenager, so it hadn't come up for me. So I got to sort of devour them with the kind of zeal of a convert, and just loved the world and loved the characters and loved just the whole glorious tone of it. So I was in straight away.
Amazing. Elliot?
I think, I'd done a bunch of shows. I did a big ensemble show called Ted Lasso, which I think helped.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and then I did a couple of romantic shows, Trying and Lovesick, and then I did a show with a lot of sex in it called Cheaters. And I think if you just put all of those things together...
That's like a perfect CV
you
for us,
sort
isn't
of
it?
get someone who might do a good job with Rivals. So it kind of found its way to me, and as soon as I read it, I was like, I know exactly how I can see this and how it should be shot and the tone of it, and so I just leapt at the chance to kind of come in and pitch my vision for it.
It's such a vibrant show, and it feels like with everything, with any kind of series, there's always multiple writers, multiple directors, and it's like, I guess they have to find that, make sure everything feels like it's one single thing. How do you, coming in and I don't know how many episodes you did, but was it the whole of the second season or parts of it? Or?
No, I did the first half of season 1, and I did the first 3 and the last 3 of season 2.
So how many directors are there on as a whole?
There's 3 in season 2, 3 directors.
Okay, and is it kind of like a team effort to sort of make sure that the whole thing feels like it's one,
Yeah, I think, between all the execs, we keep an eye that there is a kind of house style of sorts. But... you also want the director and the DP and the new elements, the new personnel to kind of bring their own flavour to it and keep things fresh. But they're big, complicated shows, so you don't really want to be too prescriptive to each new director that comes along. It's kind of not fair, but also it's very difficult to, it's not like they're just two-handers in a bar. These are big, it's a big, complicated scenes to shoot.
100%.
So, I think there's definitely a house style.
It must be, great. You get to kind of bring your own flavour to it, as you say. And in terms of writing, I guess it's a similar thing, is it? Where, you've got to make sure you're on the same playing field and you're bringing the same sort of elements, but still being kind of new and interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we try and keep sort of drawing back to the book, and sometimes we say to the other writers as well, just go back to the book on that one. See how Gilly put that in the book, because there was something really lovely in there that's quite slightly missing from this scene, and you can sort of import it back in. So we're quite often doing that, and I think that helps to kind of keep the tone in a Gilly world kind of thing. And we all know it well enough now, I think, that particularly in this second series, our antennae will pick out something that doesn't feel Gilly quite quickly. Yeah. And we'll know when things need massaging and just sort of bringing in. And that's not to say that writers can't bring in their own flair and bring in lots of, interesting, exciting ideas that maybe aren't in the book, but it has to feel germane. It has to feel like it's coming out of that same kind of heart.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was talking to a couple of the actors, they were saying that, going into the second season, they kind of know what they are now, and they can kind of play with it a bit more. It must be the same for you guys, kind of having a bit of fun with it. Going back to when the show became a thing, the first season, how did you guys get involved? What was the process of sort of, get involved with this project?
Yeah. Well, it was a long process.
A long process. We've worked together for over 20 years.
I was going to say, you've got a couple of credits that cross over,
So we storylined years and years of Eastenders together and worked together on it for a long time.
Yeah.
And then when I started up Happy Prince, I had the rights to Rivals to Gilly. I'd wooed Gilly for these rights and gone to her house and got to know her. And I knew it would be amazing television. And we went to the pub for a drink. We wanted to work together again. And I said, look, just read this book. You hadn't read Gilly before.
I'd never read Gilly Cooper before. I kind of was familiar with the Irv and thought, well, Bonkbuster. But I took it off Dominic and took it home, and ate it up, read it. So the book itself is just so good. It's such a rich breadth of character, storytelling, different tones. We always kind of talk about Gilly as kind of Jane Austen, but I think even more, I feel like she's like a Dickens in the
Social
way that she,
commentary
social commentary, satire, the way but also the way she creates character, that you kind of immediately know who that character is, just like Charles Dickens did. That was what really turned me onto it. And also, it's really fun.
And because we know each other so well, and I think we like to make each other laugh or gasp.
Yeah.
We know each other so well.
Yeah.
We wrote stories for like Peggy and Pauline Fowler back in the day. We know each other so well. So I went and wrote the pilot, then gave it to you, and you'd go, I love this, but push, come on.
Yeah.
Put David Tennant in a helicopter, Dominic. Let's go bigger. We went bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the script went out, and there was a bit of a bidding war for it, which was amazing. And all the people who'd sort of laughed at me when I was in my 20s and suggested Jilly Cooper for the telly sort of bit their tongues suddenly. It did so well.
It's a tough industry, but you made it now doing this. It's
great.
great.
It is hard, and I think we work really hard.
Yeah.
We like to be top of the class, especially now. There's so much telly. And actually...
So we're tough on each other about marking each other's homework and kind of making sure it's good, because no one else will necessarily, will they?
No.
We know that, for it to be really good, we've got to really interrogate all our work.
There's no point being B+. You've got to be A-star.
Yeah.
And so we were really rigorous with season 1. And then season 2, you've got second album syndrome.
Yeah.
I rewrote that pilot so many times just to make sure... Not the pilot, the first episode of season 2, just to make sure it was even better and still propelled you into season 2. And I think we think season 2 is even stronger than season 1.
So far.
Because we've got a swagger.
Yeah.
There's a swagger to it. We all know what we're doing. The actors all know what they're doing.
Yeah.
At the end of series 1, quite a lot of the actors were a bit like, when they watched it, oh, it's that! That's the tone! So everyone came back going like, all right, we know what this is now. We're in our groove and we can play and have fun. And I think that was both on screen and off screen. All the HODs came back from series 1 ready to make their work better than they did last series.
And you've got someone,
it feels like that.
Costume, makeup, the sets.
And really good actors that we know well.
Yeah.
If you've got the Tennant, you've got David Tennant, one of the best actors in the world, chewing scenery and then breaking your heart the next moment, playing a villain who he has rounded out even more than in the book.
Yeah.
And to write for and to storyline for, you go, Tennant's Tony Baddingham, him coming into the room, it's fun. And you can do anything with him. It was interesting, at one of the read-throughs, Oliver Chris got bigger, who plays James Vereker. He got the booze. Tony didn't get any booze, and he does some really
terrible, some much worse things than James does. But I think the audience are kind of sometimes on Tony's side. They see Tony's vulnerability. They see he's a class outsider and trying to be on the make and always trying to fight against that kind of rivalry with Rupert.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of love for Tony, despite him doing some bad things.
Because he's fighting the posh boys as well.
Yeah.
There's that fun in it as well.
It's a lot of fun, and it's one of those shows that I remember seeing the trailer, and my girlfriend's like, I really want to watch this. I'm like, I'm not sure, my kind of thing. And then I got sucked in, and now I love it more than her. It's like, I'm in.
I think a lot of that is as well, we had a very female writer's room. They're seen as women's books, which they're not. But Elliot Hegarty, our lead director, he didn't know the books that well, but he knew the 80s. His dad worked in advertising. And he brought a machismo swagger to the show. That is why it is. I think the show's summed up by the theme tune, and it is a duet, a dueling operatic duet between a man and a woman, reaching orgasm. And I think that is the team. We're all working together. Yeah. We're all looking at every frame in the edit and going, okay, let's make sure this is also a show about female pleasure. Let the camera linger over that man's arse. Let's keep an eye on it, but also. My son's friends' parents came for a viewing of season 1, and all the mums dragged their husbands along slightly reluctantly, and the husbands all sat there going, "Can we watch another one?" Because the battle between Tony and Declan what it's like, and Rupert, and what it's like to be a dad.
But also the breadth of characters. I think think there's an opportunity for most audience members to find themselves somewhere and feel like, oh my god, I'm like Freddie, or I'm like Dexter, or my marriage with Maud is like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think there is loads of relatable kind of touchstones for so many audience members.
And the music that is so important to the show. And
it must have been a nightmare getting the rights to some of that stuff.
Well, we had to work really, really hard.
Yeah.
There was definitely one song in series 1 that we really, really wanted that we sent off a clip and tried.
I'm sure now they'll be like, yeah, you can use it.
Actually, the second series has been a lot easier music-wise.
Yeah,
but,
well, the show is so vibrant as well. The colours, the costumes, and you know, the 80s setting. It feels like there's not much like it on TV at the moment. Everything's a bit kind of toned down, greyer, serious, and this is just like a burst of colour.
We never wanted to be apologetic with it, and also I think we were doing the development of this off COVID. Off the back of COVID. And I remember us in the offices all being a bit blue and actually needing this kind of bright green grass, big blue skies, and something we always talked about big emotional flavours. Yeah. I think COVID made everyone a bit kind of stunted and, you didn't dare to have a big emotional flavour. But that's what the audience really wanted.
And we really wanted to create a show that people loved.
Yeah.
And rewatched. Television is so disposable nowadays. You watch it and it's gone. Or you watch 5 minutes of something and then you go, it's not grabbed me at the first 5, gone. Yeah. We wanted a show that people would rewatch. I keep meeting people. It's someone I met in the pub the other day. She's watched it 20 times.
Oh my God. Well, that's saying something, isn't it?
Well, good. Definitely that feeling. But I also think our episodes are rich. Like, we have some amazing performances in our ensemble that, on your second view, you notice Bryony Hannah being absolutely amazing playing Deirdre, stealing everyone's scenes.
Yeah.
You notice lovely Lara Peake playing Daisy that in the offices. They've got this A characters and then this other level and then another level and then another level underneath. There's just so much to watch and see.
And also, having done soap opera for so long, we're used to playing with lots of toys and juggling. Eastenders was filming all the time. So you have to be on your toes. You had to watch on your monitors what actors were doing and adapt the story to what they were really good at and what they were playing, the nuance they were playing with each other. That's what we love. And that's what's been a skill we've brought to this.
Yeah.
It's 12 big episodes. We were filming for nearly a year.
Wow.
And, I think there's sometimes a lot of snobbery about soap opera, and we learnt so much that we're using those skills we learn on Rivals, and it's 100%. Worked.
Yeah, because sometimes there's shows where they have too many characters and they're a bit too thin, and there's not a. But with this, it feels like every character gets their moment.
Yeah,
and that's lovely. Like, there's a part with Danny Dyer as well. I have to mention, like, his character is so unexpected. The first time you watch the first season, you're like, he's the softie. Which is great. So the casting is really fun as well. And it must have been great once you kind of got it all together and you were filming the first season and seeing all those people playing those characters that you've written and you've produced this. Is that is it what you expected? Did it grow into something more? Or
even more? I think even more. I think we knew it was going to be big and bold and noisy and naughty and silly. And we knew it was a tone we had to keep watching. And early days, we were very much on set a lot, just all of us talking about the tone and making sure the tone was right. It's been even bigger.
I think the emotional richness, I'd say, is much in series 2. We're still cutting the end of the show at the moment. Wow. I'm crying at episode 11. Yeah. There's stuff to definitely be really, really belly laugh about, but also be really sad about. I think that's what's going to be surprising, I think, for audiences watching the second one, is that we go to loads of different places emotionally. It's a roller coaster, but we're always bringing it home to Rutshire, and I think it makes you all. It's kind of nourishing and makes you feel good.
It's a place you want to be.
Yeah,
you want to be
at the parties.
Dancing to 80s music with these kind of crazy people. And we're laying down foundations to keep going on for further series, and it's a place.
I was going to ask that. I'm already thinking about the next season, even though I haven't.
We've got the rights to all of Gilly's Rutshire Chronicles. We keep talking about the Cooperverse, and it's a place you want to be in.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I said the other day, I'm I'm writing a script for something else at the moment, and I love writing Gilly. It's a lovely place to write in. You've got your 80s music on the side, and you sit there bouncing along. I think we all love being in Gilly World. And we miss her. We miss her so much.
Yeah.
But it's we all get along. All the HODs returned for series 2.
Oh wow.
That doesn't happen. Never happens.
No.
All the cast came back.
Is
all
it
the
'cause
HODs.
it's all sunny all the time? Because you make it look like the weather is perfect in England.
The weather's jolly, but also we look after everyone.
Yeah.
We say, right, we're all going to work really hard. We're going to all look after each other. We made sure there's not a bad apple in the box. You know, making television is really hard. It's harder than ever.
Yeah.
You have to give your life to it. You're often away from your family and your friends a lot of the time. So have a good time doing it. Make the best show you can make.
Yeah.
And care for your audience. I think we've always thought like audience members. I know that sounds a really obvious thing. We always talk about sitting on the sofa as the viewer. How do we feel? Every Monday we come into work and talk about everything we've all watched.
Over the weekend.
Everyone in the office has watched over the weekend. We watch telly and we call it telly.
Yes. Yeah.
Unashamedly call it telly.
No
You know, we're celebrating sharing viewing with other people, and this is also a show about that. This is a show about the 80s when you all sat down and watched things at the same time. You know, and
we do celebrate television. I think that's one of my favourite things about the series is that we, you know, very subversively now on a streamer talk about the wonderful world of live TV and every 20,000 people all watching the same thing and talking about it. And I love the interplay in the show of people watching people watch people on TV.
Yeah.
You know, and Declan's always talking about how wonderful television is and making television, which I suppose we think.
We do. Yeah. We love making telly. We like working together. We're a happy company making a happy show. But our blood is in this watches. It really is. It has aged us.
You're both like really pumped for this, and it's great to see that enthusiasm and love for what you do. And I'm a big fan. So thank you
cheers.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care.
Thanks
All
so
the best
much.
for the next season.
If you enjoyed this episode and you want to support us, get early access and exclusive content, all ad-free, click and join the Life in Film YouTube channel and become a member now. Thank you to our guests, and thank you to Jenny and the team at Organic PR. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Betterhelp and movieposters.com.